Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Each week, our hosts will be interviewing local, regional, and national business leaders to give you an inside peek into how they lead their business to success in the ever-competitive business climate.
Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Today I have a very special guest. Brent Pohlman is the CEO and owner of Midwest Laboratories, a company his father founded in 1975. Starting at just 15 years old, Brent worked his way up and became CEO in 2016. Driven by faith, Brent leads from the heart, focusing on people, processes, and technology in that order. He is passionate about teaching others to lead effectively and believes leadership begins with self-reflection and authenticity. Brent holds degrees in business administration, secondary education, and an MBA in human resources, and enjoys hobbies like working out, reading, and attending Kansas City Chiefs games. He lives in Omaha, Nebraska with his family. Brent, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lance. Good to be on the show.
Yeah, typically I ask everybody how they got into what they do now, but we've already kind of talked about that. I'm actually really amazed that you followed in your father's footsteps. A lot of people don't end up doing that. I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs who are reactionaries. So in other words, like mom and dad were not entrepreneurs and then they want to be an entrepreneur. So I'm going to skip that question actually and move right to the important one is like, are you a Swiftie because of the your attendance for the Kansas City Chief games?
Well, as my daughters would say, aren't you glad that Taylor Swift is a Chiefs is part of the Chiefs now? Because no one heard of Travis Kelce before her. I was like, oh, geez, Louise. No, you're not allowed to say that in this house. That's what I told her.
That's amazing. Yeah, I had to ask it. Well, tell us though about your journey to becoming a CEO. What was it like moving up the ladder, and how did your dad also not play favoritism and avoid nepotism? I mean, in the sense of like, I've had my son try to work for me, and it is a struggle. So,
yeah, I think it was in the beginning when at 15, when I always wanted to just fit in. So people would tell me all kinds of stuff, and I would not even go back to my dad and say, I can't tell my dad that. I want to gain the trust of these coworkers. And I was learning so much. I worked after school in high school, in summers during college. And then after I graduated from college, my dad and I had a pact. He said, I need you to go out into the world and prove yourself first before I ever have you come back. And at that time, I was ready to go out. And I think he saw something in me. He knew if I would have kept from college and stayed in the company the whole time, that I would have always been wondering what's on the outside. So I taught for a while at the high school level. I worked at some corporate companies like Arthur Andersen, Mutual of Omaha, HDR. And then in 2005, I came back. I had all these ideas from working outside the company that I wanted to implement right away. And my dad had two other partners. We'll get to that a little bit. But my dad said, well, slow down. It's 2005. He says, I need you to learn the business again. And so for the next 10 years, I had to learn the business inside and out. And I was on the marketing side at that time. But I watched as my dad had a partner who had 4 sons in the business. And they came straight out of college. They had no experience outside of college. And it was just shocking to me to see how these people couldn't relate to the employees they were working with. They were following dad all the time. Dad was at their hip. They were at their hip the whole time. And that partner really wanted me to work with those sons, and it just wasn't happening. I saw something else. I understood why my dad brought me into the business, and thankfully he had the most shares at the time. So in 2016, the two partners retired. It was my dad and I then for the next 5 years before he retired at the age of 80 in 2020. So that's the quick story of that. But it's huge. I'm so glad you asked that, because most people never ask that question. But that was a big forming part of who I was and how I learned the business.
Yeah. No, thanks for answering it. I mean, it's a unique question because not everybody does this every day. Entrepreneurs, I think, are pretty rare. Do you, are your daughters, and you said daughters, I don't know if you have any sons, but
Yes.
Are they following?
So I have 5 children, and I'll tell you that 10 years was so chaotic. I would come home and they could tell that I was pretty upset because I did not like the way things were being ran, but I couldn't talk about it at home. I didn't want my kids in the business. And so they never knew what dad did. And it really wasn't until I wrote a book that they really understood that what does dad do every day at work? And now they're really understanding. I'm bringing my kids back in. I want them to pursue their own dreams, and they have. So I have 5 adult children in their 20s. Um, I don't, if the time's right, fine. I'm working on a 10-year succession plan. So
Yeah.
I'm 59. In 10 years, I'll find out where's the interest. Is there interest with those kids? But I want them to pursue their dreams and their passions. I knew I had that entrepreneurial spirit. And I kind of, frankly, I wish I would, out of college, I wish I just would have started my own company.
Ah,
Really told, don't do it. It's very hard. I remember seeing my dad come home, bring all his work home, and he always told me how grueling it is. But at the same time, if one regret, maybe I should have done that. But and then maybe I wouldn't have come back to the business. So now I'm feeling all that passion into the company. I love it. I want to grow it. I have so many more dreams that were here at the company. So
yeah.
it's really full circle comes, I guess.
I love that. Yeah, full circle. There's a lot of providence in full circles, right? For
Yeah.
sure. Let's get. So that's one of the reasons I had you on the show today. Was I love faith-driven guests. I'm a faith-driven host. And but I also had you on because you talk about leadership a lot, and it's very important to me as a leader, and then also people that I'm trying to foster a lot of leadership within my companies as well. What do inspired what inspired leaders look within, and what's its key message?
Yeah, I think what really fostered it for me was right at the start of COVID. Everyone was kind of looking, what do we do when we go home? We never shut down, and it was right before that we were just getting all of our. We had gone through, I would say, 2016 to 20 was very chaotic. I was super reactive. I was still building up my leadership. I was still learning who I was. There was a lot of changes, a lot of transformation going on there. But in 2020, everything was starting to fit together. I had the right team. I had the right. We rewrote our mission, our vision. Then COVID happened. We even had to come closer together. And we put people first and safety, and all these things were coming. And I thought, wow, this is the beauty of leadership. When you can you know what you stand for first as a person, and then you have that in your team, and then you can really build on that and watch this flourish. Because if you put people first and that people process technology, my chief strategy officer really gave me that those 3 words, and everything I did was people process technology. I just kept thinking it in that order all the time, and it was just so gratifying to see that a culture was being built and changing right before our eyes.
Yeah, I love that. People, processes, and say the last one again, please.
Technology.
Technology. I love that. I'm going to bring that up to my business partner. Uh, what do you, following the lead of that, what do you do? How do you define effective leadership in today's environment?
Effective leadership, well, it's number one, it starts with trust. You have to surround with people around you that you can trust.
Hmm.
So much so that every morning, our chief strategy officer, she runs the operations. I'm on the out. I had to get out of the operations. I was in the way. They needed someone more on the strategic side, and that's what I do for the most part of my job. But we start every day. We text each other and we say a prayer for ourselves, our families, and our company and our world. And then we at the end of the day we do the same thing. But starting every day like that with somebody you can trust, I never had that anywhere else I've worked in my life, and I can trust her with anything. And she will again. She knows I have her back. She can do anything she needs to do with the directors, the supervisors. At the same time, I just know there's a peace of mind knowing the operations is being handled, and we can move. We can absolutely look forward. I'm a forward thinker, huge forward thinker. That's one of my strengths is the strategic. I'm probably way too in the future. I sometimes I have to reel me back, but uh, but I think that's about faith. I mean, when you can't see what's really ahead of you, and you can grow in that. That's huge. It's huge, and people see it. The people around you can see and feel that. Because I was pretty crappy in 2015. I'd come in and I'd frown. I'd shake my head. and I was putting out bad signals, and people were really wondering what was going on. And
Yeah.
realized I had to bring my A game every single day, and that was really a part of my leadership transformation. So I really try hard not to show anything like that because they will pick it up and feel it if you do.
The negative energy is very sticky. I have been trying to get this across to a leader in my one of my companies too, is like, you know, and I use Alex and I as a good examples, having been through, me for me like multiple divorces. Al's has very small children who had health issues before, and like there is, there's two kinds of stoicism, right? There's the kind that you come in and you look as if everything's okay, and because you're a leader. I mean, you have to sort of push some of that stuff down. And then there's the other one where, well, which is sort of coupling effect of I'm in a certain situation. What can I control today, and how can I control it positively? So important. How do you keep those things at bay then? So you have this, I don't want to call it a facade, but that you're a positive leader.
I really had to work at journalizing so much so that it had to be almost spelled out for me in a book where I write my top three goals, I write my intention for the day. But one of the things that I had to write down that I've really kept with me is when there's something that I'm really uncomfortable about, I write it down. By doing that, it takes the power out of it, and then you can decide, do I spend some time on this? Is this something that's real, that's really happening before me? Do I need to get others involved? But simply by writing whatever it is that I'm uncomfortable with, really takes the power out of it. And that was huge for me because again, I needed a way to deal with those things that were making me uncomfortable instead of just being reactionary or reactive to different things. And that helped me so much.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, Leaders often, one of the things I think the public perception of leaders is one thing, especially if people are not leaders and they're having that public perception. I think I've experienced where, even family members are like, they think I'm some dictatorial king coming in, and it's like that is not leadership at all, right? That is absolutely the wrong, like that king, that dictatorial king in any kind of business environment, you're gonna have a lot of high turnover. There's a lot of negativity. Like that's not how effective leaders do their job correctly, right? And in fact, we actually do a lot of self-examination, right? And for me, part of that is also gratitude. Like I try to wake up every day and thank God, and then pray, and really am thankful for like the most little fundamental things in life, just a roof, water, food, all of that kind of stuff. Why do you think though self-examination and gratitude is important as a leader?
No, I think every day, no, I think you said it best. It's got to be part of your daily routine.
Hmm.
Mine, I wake up, I'm thankful for my breath, grateful to God. I say my prayers. And then for me, I have to get my body active. So that means I have to do some type of workout. And my wife knows if I don't get that in, I'm really a different person
Yep.
going through the day. I think it's that critical. But once it becomes a part of you, then you know that that's what you're going to bring to the table, and that's what it takes for you to do that. And it's part of your why. My why is I'm a person of faith who coaches people up and leads from the heart, and I say that every single day. But to your point, no, it starts with gratitude, once it's like here I'm at in this place. I'm thankful where I'm at today. This is where I need to be ahead, but you're grateful for yourself, your family, all these people with you that and the company, everything that you've gotten you to today, because we can only go forward. We can't go backwards.
Yeah. How do you help folks that you're leading then with their gratitude? Because I feel like that's part of it is like just helping them recognize, and maybe then they can build those habits for themselves.
Yeah. I think the first thing that I, as a leader, really realized is the power of just taking time to notice the person in front of me.
Mm.
And by doing that, I call that person by name. When we
Yeah.
stop and we call everybody by name, everyone wants to hear the name called. Think about it. We can go a whole day and never even hear our name called at work or even at home. But once we stop, if we say somebody's name, we're telling them, hey, I've got something important to tell you, or hey, even down the hall, hey Jim, how are things going? You're taking the time, you're showing that you care by actually calling them by their name. And I know it sounds really trivial, but it really isn't. It's very, very powerful, I think.
I think so too. Just the littlest things. I mean, I really try to make an effort with that with folks like, for instance, yesterday, one of my all my employees are my favorite, but I have their favorites in different ways. So one of them is a very tall, lanky guy, and he's into like heavy metal and dressing in black. And I am an architect, so it's always black. And he had some new Nikes on that were just black, and I was like, "Great shoes, buddy!" Like little stuff like that, I think goes a real long way, especially in a small to medium sized business. And like how much bigger would I mean, maybe even a larger business, it would go even further. Let's move into your book a little bit here. What do you think are some practical lessons the audience could take from your book?
Well, one, we've talked a little bit about some of them. Have a routine, have a daily routine.
Hmm.
You got to find that for whatever works for you. It's leadership is very personal. You've got to do what fits best. Don't try to be somebody else. Find what works for you best. Um, I would say again, if you're in any type of leadership, really think about that, putting people first, people, process, technology. I really like those three words. It's very simple, but it really helps organize thoughts. As far as that. Uh, and then we talked about gratitude. Obviously, that's a big one. And I would really find some people again that you can surround yourself with that are very trusted people, whatever level of the company you are at, and just really get to know them well, um, and get to know the people around you. I know I have an HR background. I don't know if I could go back to HR right now. That would be really tough for me right now. But we've been told not to get too personal or find out too much about people, but we absolutely should know a little bit more so that we can show that we care, because I think that people are really looking for, even at work, just someone, just that little connection that they can share some of their things that are going on. And it really helps in meetings, because I used to be super reactionary. Couldn't figure out why somebody would come in with a bad attitude. But when we know the people so well, we can tell when they say something that was like, wow, that person's a little, something's going on in their life.
Hmm.
And then that's really, and then after, and I wait till after the meeting. I don't bring it up in front of everyone. It's like, hey, is everything going okay? I noticed you said a couple things, but I know that's not typically what you say. And it's really helpful. And then when people know that they have that, and they can, even when they're dealing with something, that you have their back, and you can recognize those signs and cues, it really builds stronger relationships. And I think that's really what it's all about, is building stronger relationships all the time.
Yeah, open and honest, strong relationships. It's so critical, right? I've even had brought a bad attitude in the office and then made an apology to certain members if I've come off a little too short and harsh, and it's like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm just dealing with a lot right now, and there's nothing personal here, and I'll try to do better tomorrow.
Yeah. Along with that, my negative self-talk, I don't know if that really resonates, but I give an example in the book that
Mm.
coach took me through an exercise where I had to wear a rubber band on my wrist, and every negative thought I had to snap myself and write down the reason. Day one, I had 35 items that I said were negative thoughts about myself. By the end of that month, after 30 days, I was down to zero. And now I don't, anything I have, I turn it into more to a positive thought. But that's how bad my negative self-talk was. So if you want an exercise that works, the rubber band does work. They worked so well for me. And that's really one of the examples again that I use that helped me.
I love that. Was that all your invention?
No, that was through a coach. It was
Okay.
a coach that helped me do that. I thought it was great. It
It
is. I
is
tell her all
great.
the
Yeah.
time. I told her that was one of the best things she ever did for me, was that exercise.
Yeah. I love that. That's powerful. I mean, I'm thinking about how to use it, not for me, but just suggested for some other folks who are struggling a little bit. That's fantastic. A lot of people talk about, we've heard for like a couple decades. This is sort of bothering me, this, not about you, but just from the ether and hearing it out about like work-life balance. And the problem I have with that phrase, and it's just been gnawing at me in the last couple of years, specifically though since this summer, is that when I hear work-life balance, a scale immediately comes to my mind, and I think I'm trading one for the other. And so what I've been asking a lot of CEOs like yourself is like, what about work-life harmony? I wonder if the phrasing of that can just change the way we're thinking about it. And really, maybe that's the evolution of where we need to go. Would love your thoughts on that work-life balance versus work-life harmony. And I realize it's semantics, but psychologically, I think it puts us in a different mind frame.
Yeah, I kind of turn it around to how can I lead better at home and at work? How do I lead better? One of the things, again, I'll tell you that I think a lot of leaders have is reactivity. My
Hmm.
reactivity, think about it. When you go home and your wife says, "Hey, do you want to come to me and go dress shopping for a while?" My reaction 9 times out of 10 before, and like 10 years ago, was, "No, you just do that. You can just do that for yourself." What she's really asking is, you want somebody to go with her and just be with her. And so for me, and people laugh in meetings, I'll even do this. I'll take a long pause. I'll hear that. And my first reaction is, oh, I don't, first, awful and terrible, but I
Yeah.
take this big deep breath and I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. Yeah. Because I know how important that is to my wife. So I will do things like that. That's helped me at home. So that work-life balance, when you work on yourself, you actually become, I think you become a better person at home. Even my kids, I'm more in tune. I'm listening to what they're saying versus, like, I think you said the dictatorial leadership. Hey, I know
Hmm.
more than you do. I have more years at this. Where are you coming from? You want to do what? Look, let's understand what's the reason behind that. Why do you want to? Why? What are you thinking there? Because I'm very curious. Because again, you have employees that are just like myself, the same age as your kids. Is this something I probably need to be in tune with versus not tuning out? And it's really helped me both at home and at work. And again, we talk about it, but it's really about building better relationships. So I think you grow in awareness. So the work-life balance for me is about awareness. What's your awareness level at work? What's it at home? How are you growing awareness in both of those? And you can do it. I look at awareness more than I look at balance. So I think that's huge. And
Yeah.
a better I know I'm not a different person than I was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right, right. I mean, this is a very keen thing you're pointing out, keen observation that you're pointing out that like leaders, we are reactive because we're trying to move a ship in a metaphorical ship in a direction, and we're trying to lead a team, and it's like so, and we're presented with these problems all the time, and how much does the pause help? One of my project architects here, what he does is one of his tactics is he gets very angry at the government, and I don't blame him because the government is just especially in the construction side of things, it's very difficult to deal with sometimes. Just the red tape, and he'll type up a very angry email and then sleep on it and then delete it in the morning, and then he'll write a nice one. And I think that's a really good strategy. It's kind of like your pause in that sort of a way. Um, so with teams and building teams, do you have a framework for a strategic plan that helps improve teamwork with teams?
Yeah, so well, I'm very fortunate. My chief strategy officer, Dana, she really works, she's a coach at heart. I think as a leader, you have to be a coach. She spends a lot of time invested in each one of those directors. And I think coaching, because we want to go back to behaviors that are comfortable with us. So as
Hmm.
we think about leadership, you have to continually coach people and have direct conversations and say, hey, that action yesterday, I know we can improve for that. That wasn't exactly what the message we want to get out there. But I think it really is about coaching. And if you're going to develop your team, I think coaching has to be a part of it. You can do it yourself internally. You can use somebody from the outside. I like internal because there's a culture aspect. Someone from the outside is not going to know your culture as well, or you're going to have to spend a lot of time getting them up to speed. But I really like the coaching from within. And when you have one or two people who are really good at that, sometimes they spend a lot more time than you would like, but at the same time, you are developing that investment time. I know is paying off dividends down the road a lot in our people. So I really appreciate the fact that she does a lot of time coaching with her people, especially at the director and supervisor level.
Yeah, it's not just give people a task and say go, right? I mean, there's coaching along the whole way. Like this is uh, and I think like when do you even learn this stuff besides an interview like this or the book that you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe you've had it too. You go to a training or you go to a conference, it may resonate maybe for about a week and then it's gone. If
Hmm.
it's not reinforced, it's not going to happen. And that's really even coaching myself. I've gone to several different coaches. It's helped me so much just again keep that continual pace and reinforcement because what's in our subconscious, that's how we live. And we can always work at that as I've learned over the years. I'm learning something every single day about myself and how I can be better. Um, so I think it's key with our other people that same type of programs need to be instilled. It's not watching a YouTube video or not watching a video over here. Those might help later on, but that's not going to do for somebody who's never had any coaching. No, that's you got one-on-one. I think one-on-one works the best.
Agreed. How can exactly? I mean, there's no audience. You can put yourself in a much more vulnerable position, and feel comfortable with it, 100%. What is if for leaders that are teaching other leaders, what are some obstacles you've seen that hinder the leaders from growing?
That's a good question. I think for me, and I did well, and others, we limit ourselves.
Hmm.
We have not taken the time to really trust what we can really do on the outside through other people and other things. And we really just put these I don't even know what the right word is. We've kind of just limited self limitations on ourself and on our behavior, and we're not ready to stretch out or not really willing to take that next step. We're trying to protect something, but if we were to let some of that go and see and take some risks, I think again it would we will see the difference in that, and we can do that with our people too as well. So that's what's really taught me. A lot of people get too scared or they just really go with they're just really acting from a preventive standpoint all the time or protection standpoint more so protection versus let's see what the opportunities are, let's really explore everything. And that's really again opened up a whole new world for us as well. We grew from in 2019 we had 119 employees. Today we have almost 300 because of the growth, and we realized that we needed more people if we were going to really grow the company. We needed that size of people. We were limiting ourselves.
Hmm.
The way the company was, it was cost focused everything, but we was not set up to grow. We needed more people in order to grow.
I feel like that phrase it really resonates with leaders. It should, right? Where it's like you're limiting your growth by these things that are you're putting in your own way. I'm going to use that myself in coaching other leaders. That was beautiful. Thank you. We're running up on the half hour, Brent. You've been a fantastic guest. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Two questions I ask every guest. First one is knowing what you know now, and if you could go back in time to when you first started your trajectory into becoming CEO, what is one piece of advice you'd give your former self?
Set goals that are bigger than yourself. Number one. I wish someone would have told me that even 10 years ago. That it's huge. If you once you do that, you will find the way. You will be so driven because as a leader, you're so driven, you will make it work. And I can give many examples of how that's worked, but that's been so huge for me just in the last 2 years. It's made such a difference.
Yeah, it's real. It's real. Where could people follow you, and get in touch with you if they want to, learn about, get the book?
I would say LinkedIn is the best place to find me. It's where I make the most connections. And then the book, if you Leaders Look Within, Brent Pohlman, just search on Amazon. That's the best place to find the book. The book is easy read, 2 hours max. And uh, that's probably, I like things that are short, simple. I like small books. I wrote something small that you could really digest in 1 or 2 hours.
I love it so much. I'm not only going to link in with you right now, Brent, but I'm also going to pick up the book for a staff member I think that really needs to hear it. And hopefully it'll change their lives, and maybe it'll change the way we operate here. So really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much. It's been great being on this show today.